We have changed our broadcast software completely, so this should hopefully work better. We were using Open Broadcaster Standard, and now we're using Open Broadcaster Studio. Totally different, but also kind of the same.
Yes.
But this seems to give us a little bit more customization, so I hope it's all good now. Jackie, are we online? Are we online?
People are saying yay.
They're saying yay? I'm assuming that we are online. Okay, now Open Broadcaster Studio allows me to do cool stuff like this. Wow, you can still see the Nerdy News logo, but now you can see us at the same time.
Wow.
How crazy. And then I could do that. Whoa. And you don't see the little, it doesn't go black for like 2 seconds while I switch.
Can you move Nerdy News around?
I probably could, but I don't want to tempt fate here.
Okay.
So, anyways.
You might want to
just
bump out Nerdy News.
So, point is, anyways, and I'll get rid of the Nerdy News logo. There we go. And now I think you can actually see, now it actually uses the correct, aspect ratio of these cameras. So now you can do that. Look, we can see you guys a little bit better now. I think it actually works quite a bit better. Hopefully it doesn't crash, because then everything I'm about to say means nothing. Anyways, so now we're good. If anybody is watching this right now, I do apologize for all of the different takes. What I'm gonna do that means that this video probably won't be viewable as an archive for a while, because when I get home, I'm probably gonna download all of these videos and then cut it together as one video. So that way, all of these technical problems are not in the archived version. So anyways, getting back on track. Adam, you were talking about Pokemon Go. Do you kind of remember where you were at with that?
I was talking about how Niantic, they have servers that have all the location data for these Pokemon, where they spawn and stuff like that. And that these websites that are showing where Pokemon are skimming data off and taxing servers. And that's probably the reason why they stopped doing their location tracking for the Pokemon, is because they were having too much server traffic and they weren't able to keep up with it. So it's probably only going to be temporary, is my guess. Niantic I don't know if they've had an official post about it, but I would imagine that it's going to be temporary. They're probably going to initialize some type of in-game fix to it that uses a better system. Or they're going to think about partnering with one of these sites that was already doing it anyway, and trying to incorporate that in some way. Either it's never going to come back, or it's going to be a lot better than it was.
Awesome.
That's the goal, I hope.
All right, let's move on to questions for Pokemon Go.
Yes.
Jackie, what were those questions?
Kaylin Deathrow and Shane Wells asked the same question. What team is everyone on?
What team are you guys on? Well, Faith, you're not on a team because you don't play the game.
No, but let me ask the two people here at this table by answering a question with a question. That's something that's a favorite of mine. Based on the humorous and not so humorous realities of the stereotypes of a team, which one do you think I would best fit on?
I would say that if you were going to pick a team...
You would fit with me on Instinct.
No, I think you'd be Mystic. But
be with me.
Definitely would really like you to be on Team Instinct.
Yeah. Well, Mystic's more calm, cool, collected, thinking about stuff. Team Valor is more like we're going to win all of the Pokemon battles. And Team Instinct is more about Pokemon, what is it, connections and stuff like that? Breeding and stuff like that.
Supposedly.
So it's more like, as a communications major, Instinct would probably be better because it's about the interplay between Pokemon.
Although your intelligence would probably work well with Mystic, because they're all about the...
And also we're the majority as Mystic.
I'm sure my older brother would pressure me into being Mystic if I was telling him that I was going to be a different team. So probably Mystic is what my heart is telling me. Maybe Instinct just a little bit. Basically, I'm a Hufflepuff.
Well, there was a really good... do you guys watch Game Theory at all?
Yeah, I love Game Theory.
He did a really good video about why Instinct is super popular.
Mystic.
And Mystic, sorry. Why Mystic is super popular. And if you haven't checked it out, do, because it really does detail out why Mystic is this super majority between three major teams. It's the one in the middle. It's blue. And some people already started going for that. And then once some people started... friends want to be with friends on the same team, and it's just a landslide.
Yeah, I will always encourage everyone to watch Matt Pat and Film Theory, Game Theory, and all the other things that he does, because he's the smartest person on YouTube.
Wow.
And
I don't know. I watch Seth Green a lot. Sideshow News.
But it's funny. We were talking about Star Trek earlier, and I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Represent. But anyways, yeah, I'm Team Mystic. But blue's my favorite color, so that was an easy pick for me. So I mean, all that lore and everything is great, but I was like, ooh, blue. You know. So,
are you on Pokemon Go?
I'm on Mystic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I would have picked the green team if there was a green team, but there's no green team.
Also.
So Jackie is Instinct, I'm Mystic, and Adam is also Mystic. Next question, Jackie.
The next question comes from Sponge BBO. Hi, Sponge BBO.
Hi, Sponge
Hello.
BBO.
What's your favorite part of Pokemon Go?
Well, my favorite part of Pokemon Go is when they get the tracking working again.
Oh gosh.
Because they're like, again, some people at Niantic are like, oh, well, it's the fun of being randomly surprised by Pokemon. It's like, that's not fun.
In the games, you can go to grass and find specific Pokemon.
They need to stop insulting our intelligence. Please fix your tracking.
Wow.
Get your crap together, Niantic.
So harsh.
All right.
So ours.
Adam, what is your favorite part of Pokemon
Well,
Go?
my favorite part is probably catching the Pokemon, building the collection. I'm trying to get an Alakazam, and oh my goodness, is it hard. It's my favorite first generation Pokemon, and I've caught like 3 Abra. I'm like level 6. I haven't played it as much as I want to, but finding Abra is so difficult. But that's part of the fun and the challenge of it. And the game's a lot of fun, making you go out and go collect Pokemon. It's great. I think it's trying to go for a good thing. There's some bad things with making people go out into the world, into random locations, which might also be another reason why they're not having Pokemon tracking. So you don't like, oh, inside of this the basement of this hospital there's a Doug Trio, I better go get it. If you don't know what's down there, you won't go down there.
All right, Jackie, what's the next question?
Those are basically all the questions that I have gathered.
Oh, okay. Well, then what is the next topic?
There's a lot of discussion about teams in the chat, but no questions.
Okay.
So the next topic is the Nintendo NX.
Ooh, the Nintendo NX. Okay, so this is the picture that Eurogamer released last week. And as you guys know, I did talk a little bit about the NX in my last couple of streams, but now we're going to go even in more depth about the Nintendo NX. So, as you guys may or may not know, Eurogamer, they collect a lot of rumors around the web, but like 90% of the time they end up being mostly correct. The rumor is, of course, and I'll restate the rumor for you if you don't already know. The rumor is that the Nintendo NX, instead of being a powerhouse console like we all wanted it to be, to compete with the Xbox One and the PS4, the rumor is that it is using the NVIDIA Tegra technology to be a portable console that will connect to your TV if you want it to, and have a detachable controller. So it'll work as a handheld when you want it to be a handheld, and then the controllers will detach when you connect it to your TV to be a home console. I have several issues with this. The first one being, and this is what's going to make this new news for everyone here, is this. Oh, let me say, I forgot to do this while I was setting this up. Fit to screen. There we go. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Razer Edge Pro. This has been out for a couple of years now. Guess what it is? It's a tablet with detachable controllers that connects to your television. And it runs on NVIDIA Tegra technology. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The Nintendo NX, when Nintendo was like, we're going to do something new and crazy, it's not new and crazy. The Nintendo NX is essentially already on the market as the Razer Edge Pro. So with that in mind, oh my goodness, what do you guys think about all of this going on as soon as I... Oh, I see what's going on here. I have to click these out. There you go. What do you guys think? Faith, what do you think about the Razer Edge Pro, the Nintendo NX, and is it essentially being the same thing?
I mean, it seems pretty obvious on the surface level that the console would be modeled after that and that the company wouldn't be unaware of its existence. So the real question to me is not, are they similar or not, because they obviously are, but what was the intention for Nintendo specifically? Because I personally am not familiar with the brand of the Razer
Edge Pro?
Razer Edge Pro.
Well, you've heard of Razer, like they make the green headphones.
Oh,
Razer brand.
That mouse.
Okay.
This mouse is
Got it.
Razer brand.
Okay.
It's a gaming company.
Earlier
basically.
when we were kind of discussing all of this before we were live and having tech mic issues. We were talking about how the Razer Edge Pro, there it is, thanks.
Razer Edge Pro
is actually like $2,000, or it was when
it's like $1,500-$1,600, and the controller is an add-on that's like another $200-$300.
So I imagine that Nintendo's purpose of developing this software, even though it's not original, maybe like they're trying to mask it as, perhaps, is to make it a little bit more affordable and kind of something to be integrated into the market. And in that way, I do think it is potentially a game-changing software, because if the Razer Edge Pro came out and nobody was buying it because it wasn't at an affordable market price, then it really hasn't even dipped into the market yet and hasn't had the ability to impact gaming consoles and also kind of the games that develop, or I should say how developers develop games in specific pertinence to how it plays on a specific console or another. So I don't know. I think in that way it could potentially be a game-changing technology, but obviously Richie has a problem with the fact that it is being pitched as an original idea, and to be perfectly blunt, it is obviously not. So I would have to agree on that front.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to speak up on this for just 1 second. The thing that bothers me the most is that, everybody wants Nintendo to go back to making the best. Back in the old day, it was like, oh, you got your Atari 2600, now here's the NES, and it's the best thing on the market, blows everything else out of the water, completely gets the video game industry out of the video game recession that, believe it or not, there was a video game recession in the 80s that almost obliterated.
Yeah.
All right, fix the audio immediately. Okay, so basically, so what I was saying is like the NES and the Super Nintendo came out, and then of course the Genesis and the PlayStations come out to compete, and then they come out with the N64, which is better than both of those things. And then of course then we have things like the what was I saying? The Saturn and everything comes out, and then
the Sega Saturn, what was it? The Jaguar too.
Yeah, I mean, and then PS2 and the GameCube came out, and then also that's when the Xbox One, the original Xbox One, I should just say the original Xbox. Thanks Xbox for making it super confusing. The original Xbox came out too with the PS2 and the GameCube, and even though the GameCube was arguably not the most powerful of those three, it was still on par. But then we get the Nintendo Wii, which is definitely not as powerful as the PS3 or the Xbox 360, and then today the Wii U is by far not as powerful as the PS4 or the Xbox One. So it's kind of like Nintendo, they said, oh, we're trying to, instead of like just focusing on better graphics and better technology, we're going to be focusing more on like fun things like the Wiimotes and the tablets and all the stuff that we do not care about. I'm sorry, Nintendo, we do not care about those things. We just want a powerful gaming console. And I know what some of you are thinking, like, oh, it's not all about the graphics and everything. And you're right. It's not all. I mean, my favorite console today is still the Super Nintendo, and those are 2D graphics. So, no, I don't really care about, like, graphics in the sense that they don't need to look grandiose. But I would like them to look good, and I want to explain the difference. It's just like, if I'm gonna play a current gen game, I still want it to look good. I don't care if it's the most graphically, great thing in the world, but I don't like things to look blurry or grainy, and the Wii U kind of looks kind of blurry and grainy compared to the other two consoles. So, but, and then also on another note, I kind of would like to see Nintendo just, for nostalgia's sake, be on the top of the video game market, and it would be nice because at first the rumor was that the Nintendo NX was going to try to compete with these other consoles. So to hear it be a portable system that's using tablet technology, basically, to run its games is really disappointing to me personally. And I know I went on a huge tangent here, so we're going to go back to Adam here. And what are your thoughts on what you're seeing?
Well, I know quite a bit about the Razer Edge Pro. It did come out a couple years ago, not a long time ago, but it was a very powerful tablet. It was basically a gaming laptop put into a tablet, which is ridiculous. It basically ran Windows. You could use NVIDIA Game Stream with it. And it was a portable freaking gaming laptop in a tablet form factor. That was the idea. And it was expensive. So if you look it up online, you're going to see like $1,600, $1,700, and that's not including the controllers. It's not trying to be a console. It's trying to be a mobile gaming PC. And that's the problem that I have currently with PlayStation and Xbox is they're trying really hard to be a media PC that can play games. And that's why their hardware and software is going up and up and up and up. They're trying to compete with gaming PCs. Well, if I want a gaming PC, I can get a gaming PC cheaper or at the same price that does more. So that's what I'm frustrated with Xbox and PlayStation, which leads me to Nintendo. Nintendo has been the console king of fun. They've gotten the hardware that they needed to get to in order to play the games that they were planning on doing. Like right around the Nintendo 64 era, it was a 64-bit Nintendo. It was a platform, a 64-bit platform. Well, then at that point, everyone was like, "Look at the scoreboard! Look at the scoreboard! This one has 128 bits. It's twice as good as the Nintendo, and it looked worse." And now that I hear that it has an NVIDIA Tegra GPU or whatever it is.
It's the rumors that it's the NVIDIA Tegra X1, but I think that the reason why the NX was delayed until March of next year is because they're developing the Tegra X2.
I think they want to make it Pascal based. If you follow PC gaming at all, you'll know that the new GTX 1070, 1080, 1060 just came out using their new Pascal architecture. Basically, it uses a new 14 nanometer tech stuff. Anyway, long story short, it's very much more powerful with less power consumption, which means you can, in a tablet form factor, make a console that's more powerful than an Xbox 360 or even an Xbox One.
Right.
So, I mean, 720p gaming I can do on my phone now.
No, what they haven't said, though, is like who is actually going to be doing the developing of the chipset.
Right.
Because that's an excellent question because, you know, and it's one of those things people don't realize. It's not just that, like, it's not like NVIDIA makes the GeForce GTX 1080, and then it's like, there it is, the GeForce GTX 1080 by NVIDIA. It's like, no, it's like, here's PNY's GeForce GTX 1080.
Well, that's board partners, that's different.
You know, I mean, like, and here's the EVEA or
EVGA.
the EVGA, and then here's the other one made by, like, some other guy. So it's like, they don't just put, like, an NVIDIA card out. They have, like, different guys come and make their own versions of those cards.
That's
like,
true.
It's the same, like, technology, but it's like all these different companies get... That is so weird to think about. Imagine if, like, Sony made the PlayStation 3 or 4 now, and, like, here's Panasonic's PlayStation 4, and here's RCA's It's so...
Well, the thing you don't realize is the components that are in those consoles are in the same boat. In the same boat. They get different parts from different manufacturers. Like, there's... Like, I remember when the PlayStation 3 first came out, there was a lottery, basically, where you'd had a 50% chance of getting one board partner's type of component and another board partner's type of component, and one of them was clearly better than the other.
It's just kind of weird to me to think, like, they basically create the technology and then put it out there for other manufacturers to make their own version.
They sell blueprints, is what they sell. And if, assuming that, I would imagine Nintendo would want a good board partner, probably. I wouldn't know for off the hand, but I would guess EVGA because they tend to be the one to go to for NVIDIA. They're the closest to, like, NVIDIA straight out of the box. Right. And NVIDIA does make some cards. They'll make, like, producer quality cards, you know, the stuff that Pixar and stuff use. But when it comes to, like, the blueprints for the type of GPU that's going to go in these cards, if it's an NVIDIA chip and it uses Pascal architecture, I would not be surprised if it's more powerful than some gaming laptops from 2 years ago or gaming desktops from 2 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more powerful than the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4.
Really?
I would not be. I would say maybe 10 to 15% more powerful is my guess, depending on what type of processor they input into it. And what's great about that is it just needs to be powerful enough, because whatever type of display they put on it, if it's a 720p display, there's no point in playing a 1080p game. Right? I mean, if that's all, most TVs still are 720 or 1080. You don't need to play 4K games on a console yet.
All right.
I want to.
So Jackie, I already see the first question there. What is the first question?
SpongeBBO asks, what do you think the NX stands for?
All right, this is a really fun question because I had a fantastic theory about this, and then all kind of went to crap when this portable stuff was coming out. And you know, I am keeping in mind this Eurogamer rumor is still a rumor. It's just since they've been right about a lot of things, you know, we're kind of taking this as, you know, basically fact, because Nintendo, for whatever reason, just like Niantic, Nintendo doesn't like to communicate with their fan base for some reason and isn't letting us know anything. So basically, since Nintendo officially announced that, it's funny because usually these code words like the Nintendo Dolphin or the Nintendo Revolution are just code names created by fans, or you know, and then you know some of them are internal by Nintendo that get leaked out by fans. I think the Revolution was the official code name for the Wii. But basically, the NX was a code, but then a couple months ago on Nintendo's Twitter, they actually announced, they were like, oh, we are officially saying that the NX is coming out in March. And they actually called it the NX. However, they did not say console. They said the Nintendo NX platform, which is so vague because, you know, usually a console is like, it's a console. But a platform could be a lot of different things. And, you know, I had gone to Washington State a couple months ago to try out Super Mario Minecraft, and, you know, you guys may have seen my video on that, but as, you know, I am a Nintendo ambassador. I don't know about after this video, but basically, I went over there, and I got to try out some stuff with Minecraft, and I talked to, you know, I have the interviews online, and they were talking to me a little bit about how Nintendo and Microsoft were finally, like, working together so that they could do Minecraft, and that they've been working together for a couple of years, and, you know, and that, you know, they were hinting to me that it would be, you know, a thing that would last for the future, that they were really happy about the collaboration that Nintendo and Microsoft have been able to accomplish. And then I'm, you know, with that plus all the rumors about the Nintendo NX and that it was a platform and that it would look better than the Wii U. That's what everybody was saying. It would look better than the Wii U and it would be more powerful than like anything we'd ever seen. And so here's the theory that I had put together, which is, I'm going to let you guys know my theory now because it's so unlikely now because of all this portable stuff. So here's my theory. I didn't tell a soul because I didn't want, you know, like, I didn't want IGN to steal my ideas or whatever. But I'm going to let you guys know now, and I watch IGN still steal my idea. So here we go. The Nintendo NX. What does NX stand for? Hear me out here. The NX stands for the Nintendo Xbox. Boom. Why? Because what would the NX actually be? Okay, so here's the fun thing. So it's a platform, right? So, you know, like Netflix, you pay like $10 a month and you get like all these movies. Imagine that the NX, Nintendo NX, or just the NX, would be essentially an app that you download for your Xbox One, and it would give you all the Nintendo games that the service wants to put on there for $10, $15, whatever they would charge a month. And essentially, it would be just an app that sits on your Xbox One that plays Nintendo games at the effectiveness of an Xbox One, which is, by the way, better hardware than the Nintendo Wii U. So my theory was that that's all it was going to be, was basically Nintendo Netflix for Xbox, and so it would accomplish two things. You would, for people that wanted to play Nintendo games and wanted them to look better than they looked on the Wii U, they could do this service and it would look better than it does on the Wii U. And then the second thing is that it would sell Xbox Ones, which, as we know, just like the previous two Xbox consoles, are not selling as well as PS4s, yada yada yada. And, you know, Xbox, you know, Microsoft really needs to sell Xboxes so that they're not losing money anymore on those Xboxes, which, by the way, they've been losing money on since the very first Xbox, because Xbox has always cost Microsoft more money to make than they've made in profits, and why they continue to make consoles, I have no idea. But basically, this would solve both of the problems, because people would definitely buy blah blah. Audio's back. So anyway, I would be overjoyed because I know that you guys have seen some of my other Richie's prediction videos where I said things a couple years ago that ended up being true. It would be so cool if I don't want to sound like the Fine Brothers here, but it would be so cool if a couple years from now you look back at this video and I was right. But, I'm not trying to get people to brand my stuff on their stuff or whatever. So, not the Fine Bros at all, actually. Little joke if you were on top of that Fine Brothers coverage a few months ago. Anyways, so, whoops, that's the wrong thing that I wanted to put up there. Now everything's going to hell. There we go.
Oh.
All right, so, Faith, what do you think about the possibility of Nintendo and Microsoft working together so close that you could actually play Nintendo games on an Xbox One?
I mean, the possibility of it, obviously, I'm just not nearly as into the console gaming scene as you, Richie, not by a long shot. Personally, I'm a PC gamer, and so hearing the console talk is eye-opening for me because I wasn't really on the up and up on a lot of this until I started doing a little bit of research and hearing what you talk. So definitely it's interesting to me that Nintendo would advertise it as a platform. I think that use of language is or should be really telling, and that they probably wouldn't use it that specifically unless they did intend it to be something a little bit more platformy. And the way that you're describing your theory honestly strikes me a lot more relevant to that term platform than potentially just a handheld console that has detachable or non-detachable apparatuses and then hooks up to your TV, or maybe it doesn't. That's not really a new platform in my opinion.
Right.
But is it true that Nintendo released those photos, or was that
well, that's all Eurogamer that's releasing.
That's Eurogamer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eurogamer tends to be pretty right on this.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be really funny looking at those photos if they misinterpreted that rectangle as a screen, like a portable device, and it's actually literally a platform that you stand on.
All right, Jackie, we need to move on to the next question. What is the next question?
Absolutely. Before I go on to the next question, Garrett is in the chat. So hello, Garrett.
Oh, hi, Garrett. How's it going?
Hi.
We invaded your house, Garrett.
You probably just joined us, so you didn't see all the horrible technical problems earlier.
He experienced the last audio cutout.
Okay, but that'll get edited out of the video, so when you see this in the archive version, you'll be like, "What am I talking about?" All right. Jackie's having a laugh attack.
I'm still sick, so I was holding in all of my coughs until now.
All right, what's the next question?
But the next question is, DK Galaxy says, would you want a new... I see your question is about Donkey Kong. DK Galaxy.
I want a DK Galaxy game.
Yeah.
Would you want a new 3D DK game on NX? And how do you feel about Diddy Kong Racing 2 for NX rumors?
Well, here's the problem with Diddy Kong Racing. It's just rumors because as of right now, Microsoft still has a really tight grip on Rareware. But as I just said, relations between Microsoft and Nintendo are loosening up. So actually, the idea of them letting Nintendo use Rareware again for development is not completely outside the realm of possibilities. So you know what? I guess that is, but hey, I would like them to actually finish making Donkey Kong Racing, which was supposed to be the sequel to Diddy Kong Racing back on the GameCube. So please, Rare, Nintendo, if you're working together again, finish Donkey Kong Racing.
And Banjo-Tooie. I mean, 3.
But here's the thing. All of the great developers... Here's the problem with that, though. It would be terrible anyway, because all of the great people that used to work at Rareware, now they've started their own company called Playtonic. And as many of you know, they're making a new game coming out later this year, or maybe it's early next year now. Yooka-Laylee, which basically is Banjo 3.
Yeah.
But it's because they don't have the licensed characters, it's Yooka-Laylee, but it is essentially Banjo-Kazooie 3. And I really can't wait for that game. So maybe Nintendo, please don't make the same mistakes again. Please buy Playtonic. Actually buy Playtonic, so that way that you can't lose them again to some other company. And please just buy them and let them work for you. Make Playtonic. Make games exclusively for Nintendo, because Nintendo, you need exclusives. You're not watching this video, but you need exclusives.
Cynical Richie.
Oh man! All right, let's take it over to Adam. Adam, what do you think about what was the actual question?
Diddy Kong Racing
Donkey Kong.
and Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah, a Donkey
3D
Kong.
game.
What do you think about Donkey Kong? A new Donkey Kong game like Donkey Kong on the NX and a Diddy Kong Racing.
Well,
2?
if the new Legend of Zelda, what's the name of it?
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wilds. If that's being developed for the NX, then that means they must have some type of platform to build 3D games on. So if they could probably reuse that same engine for any kind of a 3D game. And I like Donkey Kong. Don't get me wrong, but I'm more looking forward to a Metroid game in 3D. But your username really makes me want a Donkey Kong Galaxy.
Absolutely.
Like, even if it's just a mod for Mario Galaxy where you're Donkey Kong. Make that happen. But yeah, a 3D Donkey Kong game would be awesome. I would play that for sure.
Faith, did you ever play Diddy Kong Racing on the N64?
Maybe.
Oh, it's great. You'd love it.
Honestly,
Boats, planes, hovercrafts, cars, and you race all between all of them. It's great.
It was amazing.
It's a lot of fun.
I also have the 3DS version as well.
Oh,
which
sweet.
is
I don't
also
have
good.
that.
Garrett could probably answer that question better than I could, because a lot of my early gaming memories are, back in my 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old brain. So a lot of those memories are lost at this point. Although, when it comes to racing games, I gotta say, not that this is, it was a PS1/2 game. Crash Bandicoot. Like, I loved him so much. But irrelevant anyways. Don't have much to say on this question, unless anybody else has any further notes. I recommend we move on to the next.
Well, I will say, because Jackie's still trying to load up the questions again, I will say that my thoughts about a new Donkey Kong game in general, I really enjoyed Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I thought those were great throwbacks to the Donkey Kong Country games from the Super Nintendo, which are some of my favorite Donkey Kong games. However, they did the new, I forgot what second party developer actually made those. They did a really great job of mimicking Rareware's development process with those games. However, they have yet to come up with another Donkey Kong 64 style game. And again, this was coming from the age of Rareware, where like Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, and like those huge platform games were huge, and that's why Yooka-Laylee is so great, because it's a throwback to those giant 90s platformers. I would really like to see more of those. I really hope that Yooka-Laylee does well, because as soon as Yooka-Laylee makes record-breaking numbers, then all the other developers are like, oh, maybe we should make a new Crash Bandicoot game. Maybe we should make a new Donkey Kong game that's not just a 2D. And don't get me wrong, I love those 2D side-scrolling games, but I also really love huge platformers, and it kind of started with Super Mario 64. Now remember, I'm a little bit older than most of you viewers, I think, so a lot of you were like, oh man, Mario 64 is my favorite game of all time, and I have to say, in retrospect, Super Mario 64 is one of the greatest platformers ever made, and possibly one of the greatest games ever made. However, my favorite Mario game is Super Mario World. And when Super Mario 64 first came out, I honestly couldn't stand it. I didn't like the way that it worked at all. I was like, this is not Mario. And to this day, I still have problems like, where's Luigi? And where is a fire flower? Why doesn't it have some really base Mario things in it? And I know that they've fixed a few of those things on the DS version, but I think the DS version is actually not as good as the original 64 version. Yeah. And again, I said, don't get me wrong, I love Super Mario 64. I now consider it one of my favorite games of all time. I was just really salty when it first came out, because I was so, my idea of what Mario was not that. So it's very interesting to think about, because I know a lot of you grew up with Super Mario 64, but for me as a cynical 10-year-old, at the time, having already played I clocked in so many hours into Mario World on the Super Nintendo, that was very strange to me, and I was like, anyways, but as far as Donkey Kong goes, I would love to see a new Donkey Kong platformer for the NX, whatever the NX ends up being. Alright, Jackie, do we have the next question?
We do have the next question. The next question comes from Mike Ald, and it is on the Nintendo NX. I'd like to know if you think there are going to be bigger controllers than the one that's pictured. This tiny little thing.
I certainly hope so, because let's go back to that Eurogamer. Where is it? Not that one. That one. All right. So look at that. If that really ends up being exactly what we get, It's pretty pathetic because that essentially means that everybody, it would mean that you basically only have like 2 people can play unless they add like additional controllers that you
I think
can
they're
plug
like
in.
Wiimotes, where a Wii emote and a nunchuck, where you hold both of them.
So
or
you're saying
or they like click together.
You're
or
saying
something?
that one person would just have both of these controllers.
Well, yeah, because one of them has a D-pad and the other one has buttons.
Okay, but even with that, that's still not enough buttons for me. I gotta have 22 buttons on my controller.
You can't tell here, but there might be like bumper buttons on the tops.
Well, again, we don't even know if this is the official design.
Yeah.
This is just all speculation at this point. So what I'm going to say is that I certainly hope that these are not... I really hope this isn't at all what the NX is. But if the NX is anything like this at all, as we can see by the... you can see here on the Razer Edge Pro version that not only does it have buttons, it also has looks like a little wheel on it, some shoulder buttons, and it looks like these things are a little bit more complicated than what we're seeing on that NX picture. But basically, I'm not really impressed by the little flat controllers that I'm seeing in that picture. So yeah, I really hope that those controllers end up being not. I just really hope that this is not the NX at all.
Well, I will say some of my favorite games use the controller stick and 2 buttons.
Yeah, it's
if you've ever played Kirby Air Ride, anyone?
Kirby Air Ride is great, by the way.
Controller stick, A button. That's it. That's the whole game.
Yeah, well, that's great for Kirby's Air Ride.
Well, yeah, but
you
can make great games with limited controls.
I'd hate to play
sure.
Assassin's Creed with 4 buttons and a joystick.
Right? Oh,
Right?
well.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways,
I'm a PC gamer, so the more complicated and customizable the controls, the better.
Yeah, here, hold on. Let me borrow this.
yeah, it's not going to come out.
Oh,
Yeah, it
jeez.
is. Yeah, it is.
Oh, look at that.
Chaos.
See this? This is a Razer Naga Epic. See how it has 12 buttons on the side? Mm-hmm. That's how many buttons I want on my PC game.
Yeah.
How many buttons I need on my console, it depends on the game. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, there we go. So I was just saying that this mouse has more buttons than your average controller.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Jackie, what's the next question?
The next question is from DK Galaxy again.
DK
Ooh.
Galaxy again.
And he
Ooh.
says, do you think this will really put Nintendo back on top? In my opinion, this is kind of a gimmicky console again.
Again, if this ends up being what the NX is, then it's definitely not going to put Nintendo back on top. The only way I can see Nintendo being back on top in the gaming market, and not trying to sell to soccer moms, is making a powerhouse console that can compete with the PS4. That is the only way they will be on top in my mind.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like they can do that with a portable console.
you're too optimistic.
I am. It's true.
But that's why
like if they had a
counter-minded.
dock, you stick it in. What they could do is they could have a basic portable console, almost like a tablet-like experience for smaller games. Maybe incorporate older NES games into it, so that you can play them wherever you're at. Oh, but also have a dock for it that has all the horsepower in it.
Well, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
like a 1998 Apple. You put the laptop in the computer.
Yeah,
and
well, they have that stuff now. If it uses any of the newest technology that's out there right now, if you watch any computer expos or anything like that, you'll know about USB Type C and all this cool stuff that you can get, like the Razer Core. Speaking of Razer again, but you can build basically a box that's a super powerful PC on its own, basically, and then just plug this into it for software. And you can have a computer that's more powerful than a gaming desktop if you want.
I would be really surprised.
But it'd be very expensive, which I don't think Nintendo wants to do.
If Nintendo did make this portable console, I'd be very surprised if it had a hub that had the horsepower in it.
Yeah,
But
or
you know,
like upgradability.
right. We'll see.
Because right now, PlayStation and Xbox both have upgradability. You can add hard drives. It's only a matter of time till they're like, oh yeah, you can slot in your NVIDIA card.
Well, see, at that point, it just becomes a PC.
Exactly.
And then, I mean, I have basically switched to PC for most everything now.
Yeah.
You know, I think the last major gaming decision that I made was what console I was going to buy Overwatch for, and I ended up getting it. Oh, or what?
Oh, you're talking and you have it on.
Oh. That's an excellent point. Hello, everyone. The last major gaming decision I made was Overwatch, and I decided to get it for PC, mostly because all of my friends that play it on PC, but also because like I wanted to be able to like, you know, do live streams and everything, and that would be a lot trickier to do with a console. And also just like, oh, I want Overwatch to look good, and I want it to play good, and you know, I'm not going to be able to get it any better than the way that it looks at base on the PS4 with computer. I can always keep upgrading my computer to make Overwatch look better and better and better, and play other games as well that aren't even available on consoles. And you know, so yeah, I'm kind of with Faith that PC gaming, especially with the trend that it seems like the consoles are going to go. Just get a PC then, right, Faith?
Yeah.
I would agree, although kind of, well...
That's why they're adding gimmicks, I think.
2 notes. 1, console Anna, no thanks. Like, no
yeah, Anna on console would be awful.
Oh my gosh. Secondarily, back to the original question of, will this put Nintendo back on top if this console is what rumors speculate it to be? I don't know that I'm not an experienced console gamer like you, but I also don't know that I would define on top being quite as black and white as you do. I am a little bit with the people who would say, Richie, it's not all about, you know, horsepower.
Yeah.
I think that's great though. That's why I have guests, because I don't want it just to be my cynical point of view. I need all the viewpoints.
I think the problem you're seeing is you're thinking of gaming consoles and gaming PCs, or gaming in general, all as one lump thing. Gaming on a console is fundamentally different from gaming on a PC. What makes a console separate from a PC right now is basically any exclusives that they get that the other consoles don't get, or that you can't do on a gaming PC. Sometimes having a game that you can just sit on a couch and play is nice.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that with a PC all the time. You have to get, like, one of those big old lap dogs and take up the whole couch and get, like, a keyboard and mouse, and it's just it's a hassle. Trust me, I've tried. I've played Civilization 5 at my couch, and that was all right. But you try anything else, it's terrible.
But it's true that, like, I mean, it's true. Richie points out that, like, the trend of consoles right now appears to be leaning more towards the PC things.
Which is why you got to add gimmicks.
Right, but it's also concerning because it's like you either have to play your own game or you have to play this game better than anybody else. And I don't mean game literally, I mean game metaphorically, in the sense where it's like
the game.
Yeah, if you're going to do this sort of business plan or make this sort of console, you either need to separate yourself enough to make those exclusives and everything about that console unique enough where people want to buy it for that. But yeah, it kind of does seem like Nintendo right now is kind of half trying to get the best of both worlds, but at the end of the day, they just kind of ended up being stuck in the middle because it's not a powerhouse console system, nor does it have the compatibility and kind of customization of a PC.
Yeah. I mean,
or the graphics, really. So
let me be like a devil's advocate and say, all right, you have average Joe Schmo who goes to Best Buy or whatever to buy a console. His kids are asking him for a gaming console, whatever. His choices are an Xbox, which he can double as a Netflix box with voice control, or a PlayStation, which is more of the same, or this new Nintendo NX. And he's like, oh, well, this is cool. I can take it out of the living room and travel with it. Mm-hmm. Why does, in the instance of a parent, why would they want that, right? Because then if you have more than one kid, you're kind of messing with that. You don't want the only type of gaming system that makes sense as a portable one would be if you could like take multiple controllers out of it, right? Because if you're trying to do that multiplayer, which the console's great at, that in-house multiplayer, you ruin it by taking the actual console out of the room and and leaving with it. Yeah. Now, like if you could take it over to a friend's house and do multiplayer, then great, I'm buying 2 consoles now. And if the controls aren't as good, then it doesn't make sense. I mean, I'd rather have a GameCube than a console I can pull out of the TV if I want. It doesn't make sense. Now, if the console could do stuff like regular tablet stuff, like it was productivity tablet stuff, and a console, and you could plug it into the TV, and you could take it wherever you want, then it'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of cool. Don't get me wrong. Like if I could, like basically plug in a tablet to the TV and play Nintendo games, that's pretty cool. But as it stands, is just like just a blocked screen with controllers on the side that you can plug into a TV, and I don't even know how well that would look. It doesn't make any sense.
You make a really good point, though.
I think the house next door is having a crazy house party.
Want to just close the window?
No, we're not sure. But really quick point, food for thought. What are they doing? They're normally so quiet. The guy's a fireman. Like, just a quick food for thought kind of note, because Adam's dialogue, or monologue, I should say. Well, not a bad thing, but it was a monologue. Kind of made me think of a good point, which is what happens to the gaming and console world on a marketing level when they're marketing to us in 10, 20 years when we're all parents and grandparents and want to participate in the gaming. And gaming is no longer just for the young generation, but it's supposed to be something that ideally would integrate a group that has been gaming since the 90s, and also a gaming group that is up and coming. It's just kind of interesting because you're talking about...
I'm looking forward to like the situation where you got like you, your brother, and your sister, and you're all playing the game, and then one of you's like, I'm going over to a friend's house. Click, bye. Right? You can go play the other console.
All right, let's try to move on to the next question. That one lasted a long time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The next question is from Garrett540. Who could that be?
I don't know. Who could that be?
Great. He has a very intuitive... Oh, no. Okay. He has a very intuitive question. I really like this one.
Ooh.
Because it goes back also to our previous topic, which was Pokemon Go. But the question is, think we have any chance of a 3D Pokemon RPG? Any dream of that? Or has the Pokemon Go issues highlighted the lack of cooperative potential?
Like, I have always, ever since Pokemon began, I've always wondered why. I mean, I guess I know that originally they were just trying to sell Game Boys, and it was like, here's a really cool, like, you know, actual, like, main game series for Game Boy. But ever since, you know, Pokemon began, I always wondered why didn't they make a console counterpart? Because the only thing that on consoles is like the stadium games and like all the like the spin-offy stuff. Like Potemkin just came out. If you like that,
yeah, Potemkin or whatever.
Potemkin, yeah, whatever.
Tongue twister.
They're not good. They're not good games.
Well, Pokemon. What was it? The like RPG style Pokemon games. There was two of them on the GameCube, I think.
They were okay.
They were alright.
All I'm saying is, like, why can't we have, like, in effect, again, like, I've always been a Final Fantasy fan. Well, not since 13, but I was a huge Final Fantasy fan when they were good. And I always wondered why Nintendo didn't try to make, like, you know, in addition to the more child-friendly games on the portable devices, why didn't they make a version of Pokemon for consoles that was more like mature, maybe not too much more mature, but a little bit more complicated with some more traditional RPG elements like Final Fantasy, that would have like a more complicated story, that, you know, it wouldn't just be like collecting all the badges, doing the Final Four, what's it called?
The Elite Four.
The Elite Four. Basically, every Pokemon game is exactly the same. I would, you know, it would be awesome.
They're doing something different. With the new ones.
I know. I was gonna get to Sun and Moon in just a second.
I'm sorry,
but every Pokemon game. No, audio's fine. Audio's fine.
Oh, you said never mind.
But basically, every Pokemon game has basically, without much exception, and we'll get to Sun and Moon in a second, has been about the same. And I would really like a console version in 3D that's basically like Final Fantasy, but in the Pokemon world. And I think that would be really, really kick-ass, and I would love to see a 3D Pokemon RPG with all that good junk in it. However, and I had a point that I completely forgot because I was repeating myself.
Well, while you try to remember...
But wait.
Okay, I was going to say, while you try to remember, I have something to say also. But
well, okay, you say it.
I was going to say that in my Minecraft days, there was a mod for Minecraft called Pixelmon.
Oh, yes, where you could catch... Yes, I know this.
It's good. It brought Pokemon into the Minecraft world, and it was so awesome. And my friends and I, we made our own separate server for Pixelmon, and all of us were... And we're back!
So what were you saying?
So Pixelmon, my friends and I, we created a server, and we
Minecraft.
all... Yes, a Minecraft server with Pixelmon on it, and it was so much fun, and I would really love a Pokemon RPG that you could play online with your friends, just like Pixelmon, but like an actual legit game instead of a modded game in a game.
What do you guys think about like a more complicated console Pokemon game?
What do you think?
Well, kind of going back to the similar notes that I was making on Star Trek, because you'll find that I focus on character development a lot, because there it is, I'm a comms major again. But I think I would be really excited to really flesh out the storyboard in a way that hasn't been done before yet. Similar to what you were saying, Richie, that all the Pokemon games have been the same up to this point. I'd be really excited to get a different platform going so that you can understand the characters, interact with the characters and the world, and begin to kind of create the world in a way that these previous game consoles haven't been able to. That's kind of the most exciting thing for me. As for where that falls in the realm of possibility or impossibility, I wouldn't say that I am particularly... I wouldn't bet on it, but the idea is pretty exciting. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Like, I'm hearing what you're saying about the making a more Final Fantasy-like Pokemon game, but the few Final Fantasies I've played where you're like out in the world, you walk a bit, monster shows up, it's all of you against the monster. Pokemon's kind of already like that, but it's only one Pokemon at a time kind of thing.
Well,
I don't know if there's something
multiple
else.
battles. You can have battles with multiple Pokemon.
Well, right.
But there's... I'm going to come back to me for a second here. There's a lot more to Final Fantasy than just that.
I know. So, I haven't gone very far into Final Fantasy.
And the thing about...
And there's a lot more emphasis on story, I know that.
I know a lot of people don't like Final Fantasy VIII. The reason why that is one of my favorites is because the reason why I like Final Fantasy in the first place. So much about Final Fantasy is the battle actually happens before the battle. You know, because other RPGs, it's all about, like, you know, Pokemon is the pure example of, like, you just get in a fight, it's like, okay, what am I fighting? Oh, it's a you know, Jolteon. I better get out my Pokemon that can counter thunder, you know, and you just kind of prepare for the battle as you're battling. Versus Final Fantasy, which is where the best Final Fantasies, you're actually, okay, like, I'm in a dungeon right now where the enemies are going to be all, like, oil-based, so I better set up for, you know, countering that with fire attacks. So, for example, in Final Fantasy VIII, what you would do is you would set Fire, Fira, Firaga, all the fire spells to all of your elemental defense junction stats. And then in your status defenses, you would set up all of your, like, sleeves and, you know, all the stuff to counter, like, anything that they could throw at you. All that is done. I would spend maybe 10 minutes... after every battle, I would spend 10 minutes in the menus preparing for the next battle, so I would be awesomely ready for the next battle. And that's why I love Final Fantasy VIII. Everyone's like, it's too complicated. Squall sucks. But, like, it's the best one. You guys can, you know, kiss my ass. But Final Fantasy VII did a lot of that, too, with the materia orbs. You'd be setting up, like, okay, like, am I setting up my materia orbs on my shield or on my weapon? And it was simpler, but kind of the same idea. And all Final Fantasies have some, you know, like, you know, with the armor, it used to be with the armor, you'd set up your armor a certain way to do that sort of thing. But Final Fantasy VIII definitely brought that to, like, the next level with how customized you could get before a battle, and that's what I love. Today's Final Fantasies, not so much, but except for maybe the MMOs. The MMOs are still good. But, yeah, you know, I love that preparation. There's nothing quite like that in Pokemon, except for maybe learning new moves, HMs, etc. So again, yeah, Sun and Moon, there's going to be no gyms, but you still have to fight like leaders of the island, so it's kind of the same thing anyway.
Oh, and the totems.
But you know, there's the totems
cool.
and things. I mean, yeah, they're trying to switch it up a little bit, not enough in my opinion. I would really like a story that, like, you know, we really kick ass now that we've had like 7 generations is actually like go back to the beginning, make a complete remake of the original game where you play as Red and not his goofy stupid you know, counterpart Ash like in the anime. It would be actually it would be about Red, so you'd play as Red and you'd go through Kanto and eventually you'd go through all the other regions, and maybe you get a giant Charizard that can fly you between the regions, and you'd actually explore the entire Pokemon world and not just one region, and actually collect them all in an incredible huge 3D platform you know, console Pokemon game where you can literally catch them all, go to every region, battle every gym, do everything that you've always wanted to do in a Pokemon game, and be able to maybe do some battle customization before battles. That would be the dream Pokemon game for me. Anyways,
come on, Richie.
Yeah,
we're not gonna get that kind of emotional satisfaction.
I think that kind of game is possible. But it's like you'd have to change the fundamental core like rule set for Pokemon. Like how it goes. Like
they'll never do it because then they'll be like, "How can we top this?"
Yeah, like you got dual types, you got moves that you can teach, you got TMs, HMs, you got abilities, and then each Pokemon type counters another type. Like Dragon's good versus Dragon, Ice is good versus Flying and Dragon, and you have all these. You have like this huge diversity in types, and to pre-prep for a battle, you'd have to know what your opponent already has, and pre-prepping in Pokemon doesn't make as much sense. Like if it's the Elite Four, you know exactly what each of their Pokemon pretty much are ahead of time, and you can prep for that. You can build a team through battling. Like I know I did. Sure. But like I get what you're saying is you want to have like more depth into the game, and it's kind of difficult when the Pokemon levels.
I want like Pikachu to die and Red to be like no, and like
you want like more story in there, and I do want that too. For sure.
A perfect example of what I'm talking about, actually, between like going to different. Well, in my example, I was saying like going between the different regions. Like there's already a game a lot like that out there called Kingdom Hearts, where you go between the different Disney worlds and you fight different enemies depending on what world you're in. Similar to how you would go to different regions and battle different Pokemon. So the game essentially already exists as Kingdom Hearts. So maybe Game Freak, and again, Kingdom Hearts was made by Square, which also made Final Fantasy. So maybe the real secret is if everyone's egos, if they can just get over themselves, maybe Game Freak and Square could work together on making a giant Pokemon game that kind of has a Kingdom Hearts feel, where you can go to different regions and collect all the Pokemon. Please make it happen. It's not going to happen, but please make it happen.
We should just relabel this stream Richie Sass Level 100.
The Salt Factory. Rich out the Salt Factory.
I really want to wait for more information about Sun and Moon, because it sounds like they're trying to kind of do that. If you've looked at like how you can like rent a Pokemon and ride it.
Oh yeah,
you've seen that where you can like ride that Mud Horse Pokemon, and you can ride a Charizard and fly around. They're getting closer to that. I feel like on like a particular anniversary for Pokemon. I don't know exactly when Pokemon started.
20 years ago.
20 years ago. So maybe on like the 25th or 30th anniversary, if they do like they do like a game where it's everything from start to finish, following a storyline. I feel like that would be a really cool move for them. But I don't know if they're just gonna be. It'll probably be a console and handheld kind of thing. Like you remember when Super Smash Brothers Brawl. Or not Brawl, the newest Super Smash Brothers?
4, yeah.
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers 4, where it was on handheld and on console.
But the handheld version really blows.
Right, it does. I played nothing but the handheld version. I don't even know how good the console one is.
Way better.
But, I know, my hands hate me. But, a Pokemon game that's just huge like that, there's a demand for it, but I think it's one of those things where they're thinking, well, people don't really know that they want that. They don't want a 200-hour RPG Pokemon style.
Right.
Even though we spend like 350 hours on these games each time they come out.
Any last thoughts about this, Faith? No?
No.
Okay.
No. It was a great question, Garrett, and I know we kind of got off topic, but certainly
topic. What's that?
Yeah,
thank you.
I apologize. This stream has lasted way longer than any of these streams should ever last. I was trying to give something back to you guys because we were having a lot of technical problems at the beginning, so I was trying to make up the difference by having just a longer stream. Usually, I know this is kind of. I know I did a nerdy news before, but it was just me. This is kind of the beginning of what nerdy news will eventually. Like, if you guys ever watch Collider Heroes, or even movie fights where they have like the desk and the TVs and everything. That's what this show aspires to be like, and hopefully someday we'll get there. But basically, this was the first real test on like doing like 4 people and like having like this kind of roundtable discussion. So I apologize for the technical difficulties. I did say earlier that I was going to take all of the parts and edit it down into one. However, because we've gone so long, that'll be an impossible job. So it's just going to be multiple videos, guys. I'm sorry. But next week, now that we finally figured out our technical difficulties, next week it'll all be in one video. So I do apologize for all that. But hey, you know what? I hope you enjoyed this. And, if we didn't answer your questions, just, every week, come on here and ask your questions, and hopefully we'll be right as rain there. So that's the stuff. That's the stuff.
That's the stuff.
Think of the
That's the
stuff.
Do this for sure.
The top
yeah.
one's the most important. All right, we're gonna cut out the cameras here. Anyways, yeah. So that's those are the URLs. Yeah, the top one's the most important because that's what keeps the channel running. So yeah, if we didn't have time to answer your questions, I apologize. We try to answer as many questions as possible, but at the same time, we're trying to talk to each other. So if we didn't answer your question, then I apologize. But we're here every Tuesday at noon Pacific time for Nerdy News Live. And if you guys want to ask me other questions at other times, I'm also live every Thursday at noon Pacific time for Rich Plays Overwatch right here on YouTube. And then every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Twitch at twitch.tv/RichPlaysOverwatch, where I will play Overwatch and also answer your questions. But for everything nerdy news related, just check back on the Rich Alvarez YouTube channel every Tuesday at noon Pacific time. I'm Rich Alvarez, and anybody want to say any last little things before we get out here?
We love you.
I take full responsibility for technical difficulties.
Jackie?
I love all the Sun and Moon Pokemon so far. I know that's way off topic, but
Ice
really
Ninetales for the
goodbye.
win!
I really wanted to make that known.
Ice Sandshrew also.
Thanks
Bye,
for
everyone.
having
I love
us,
you guys.
Richie.
Yeah, no problem. All right, we'll be back. Same Rich time, same Rich place. Next Tuesday, noon Pacific time. Rich... well, no, it's not Rich Vlog anymore. It's Nerdy News Live. Goodbye. Wait, it might be called Nerdy News Now next week, so we might